Welcome to the Off the Bench podcast with your hosts, Lane Stoutman and Cam. Today we'll be doing the Friday Weekly podcast with a twist. In a moment, a special guest will come on and he's going to talk local sports with us. And now joining us is Michael Severe.
Hello.
Hey.
How you guys doing?
Good.
How come Cam doesn't have a last name?
I don't
Are you
know.
incognito? They don't
Yeah.
people know who you are?
No,
That's a good
no,
idea.
Yeah.
I understand. Won't be too big of a star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're too big.
Yeah.
So I noticed you've been in media for 30 years, so.
I have for a long time. Yeah, I've done TV, radio. I worked for the newspaper for a while, so a little bit of everything. How long have you guys been doing Off the Bench?
About 2 months now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've done 30 videos in just 2 months.
Yep. It's been pretty good.
And are you the backup? Is that who you are?
Yeah.
You come off the bench.
Yeah.
Are you a lefty or righty?
Ready.
So he calls you out of the bullpen like this and you come in? Okay, cool. Nice.
With your shirt on, I've noticed again, you're
That's okay.
executive director of the Jet Award.
I am executive director of the Jet Award. We give out the trophy
Mm-hmm.
for the best return specialist in college football. And then we also raise money for scholarships for students who are going to Metro Community College and Iowa Western Community College. We're trying to make sure that more people go into those trades. You know, like you gotta be an engineer or be an electrician or mechanic or anything like that. So I've been doing that for over 2 years.
Yep. Wow. How long have you been doing the Big Red Wrap Up?
So this will be my 6th season doing Big Red Wrap Up on Nebraska Public Media. I took over for Kevin Kugler, who's a longtime host of the show.
Yep.
And we have a brand new studio that just was redone last year. And Jay Moore and Damon Benning and Sean Callahan join me every Tuesday. And we talk about Nebraska. Hopefully talk about a win, but recently not as many. Yep.
Yep. I think we should probably get into College World Series. So, I just want to know your thoughts. Did you see the Coastal Carolina head coach getting
Oh, yeah.
down in the first inning?
Of course, and I'm from Louisiana, so obviously LSU is a team that I've watched for a long time. I covered them when I worked in Monroe, Louisiana. I went to several of the games at the old Alex Box Stadium. It was weird because when you first watched it, you didn't really know what happened. You know, you look down for a second, all of a sudden he's ejected. But at least on the replay, you understand that the ump did tell him, gave the warning to the first baseman.
Yep.
Said, first base coach, you can't talk anymore, which means no one can come out of the dugout. Coastal Carolina coach came out of the dugout, he'd shoot him back twice. So it happened a lot faster than it probably should have. Maybe he should have waited a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But the same thing, if the ump tells you to get back, you probably should get back.
Yeah, get
That's
back.
probably a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, like if your parents tell you to do something,
Yeah.
you do it, right? Or you get punished, right?
Yeah.
Well, he got punished. So, but it did feel really weird because of it was a monumental game. It's the first game of the College World Series. You're playing for a championship, or second game, excuse me. For it to happen that way, I mean, I know.
Especially first inning.
Yeah, in the first inning, it just,
No.
again, it happened so quickly. I don't think anybody knew what really happened. It took all the way till, I think, the 5th inning before ESPN really showed us exactly what happened in the situation.
Yep.
Yeah, which was really good that they showed us. But yeah, that was a weird feeling. I'm happy that LSU won the championship. It's their 8th they've won since they started in the early 90s winning championships. But at the same time, you want Coastal Carolina to have every opportunity and not having your manager and not having your first base coach, who was his most valuable coach. That kind of sucked for them a little bit. Yep.
Also, the pitcher that threw in a perfect game.
No hitter. I was there for that game.
You were there?
I was there for that game. So I went to the initial LSU Arkansas game, the first one of the series they played, and then we went to the Arkansas game, which is an elimination bracket, and it was a perfect game all the way up until the 8th when he hit a batter. Well, 7th he hit a batter. Then again in the 8th he hit a batter, but they reviewed it and called it a strikeout, said that he was over the plate, and so it's crazy to be at a game like that when it's only the 3rd no-hitter in the history of the College World Series. It was amazing. Everybody, and I mean everybody, even the Coastal Carolina team, everybody was excited. Everybody was standing up. Everybody was, into the game. And then those last 2 outs.
Oh yeah,
that was
incredible. It was incredible how loud it was in there. And I've been in there for championship series when people have clinched before, I don't ever remember that building being that loud.
Yeah,
It was
that
incredible.
that was a good series.
Yeah.
75th year of CWS.
Yeah,
That's
that's
really nice.
the diamond anniversary,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
huge. And
Yeah.
you think about it, so at one point, did you guys know that the Women's College World Series and the Men's College World Series were both here in Omaha? We're both in Omaha
Yep.
at the same time. The Women's College World Series played at a park called Seymour Smith
Okay.
in the 70s. For a long time, way before you guys were born, there were no women's sports like that until
Yeah.
Title IX came along in 69, 70. And so when that started, they were looking for a place to play it. They played it in Omaha. Why? Because
Yeah.
baseball was already here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was a great series. I would say that according to some of the businesses I know that are in downtown Omaha,
Yeah.
they say they made more money, sold more food and drinks than in the last 5 years. So it was a great combination. Arkansas, LSU,
It was good.
the Coastal fans,
Murray
Murray
State.
State coming for
Yeah.
the first time. They brought a lot of people.
They
They
did.
did.
They did.
I went to a party they had at Let It Fly Sports Bar where I work sometimes,
Yeah.
and they had 500 people in there,
Jeez.
and they brought 1,100. So yeah, good for Murray State. And the basketball coach at Murray State right now is a former assistant for Creighton,
Okay.
Yeah.
Ryan Miller. Yep.
I don't know. You know the safety bag? Why was it green? This.
So they've been doing that for the last few years.
Oh.
It's mainly to avoid injuries.
Okay.
I know when my kids were playing Little League, it was a white bag and then like kind of off-white bag.
Yeah.
But I think they made it that way so when it gets dirty, it really
Oh.
looks different than the other
Yeah.
bag. But so many times you've had collisions, famous ones in the World Series
Yeah.
years ago, Reggie Jackson, kind of stuff like that. So you want to have that bag there for safety,
Oh yeah.
you know. And I guess they chose green because it stands out.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, but I never really asked anybody about it. That's a good question though.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think of the series?
was good.
It was fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Have you guys been to a College World Series game?
I went last year.
Okay, you not been yet?
Nope.
Who'd you go see last year?
It was the Florida State versus UNC game, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was really good. Third baseline. That was a great game. Which at Charles Schwab, there's no bad seat.
There really are.
There is.
Yeah.
It's a
Especially
great ballpark.
they're putting in that other scoreboard on. They're gonna have
Oh,
scoreboards
yeah,
on both
I saw
sides.
Left field, yeah.
That's gonna make it
Yeah.
extremely good.
North Carolina and Florida State are two of the teams that have not won and have been a bunch of times. I think
Yeah.
Florida State might be the team that's been there the most without
Yeah.
ever winning the College World Series.
Yeah.
And at one point, UNC was there 3 straight years in 2000s and could never get over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough for them.
Yeah.
They're kind of jinxed.
How'd you get over the top the first time though?
It is, but you look at it, we've had, when I first started doing it, you hadn't had a ACC team win it since the 50s.
Yeah.
And so you got Virginia and Louisville both win it, so you added that, so that's kind of changed a little bit. But there's something about Arkansas, Florida State, UNC, that for some reason, like you
Just
said,
can't do it.
can't get over the top. Yep.
Yep. I'm trying to think. I think that's it for the
The College World Series stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to, I think next year, one thing that'll be interesting is you guys know about the legislative settlement and the legal settlements
yeah.
for
Oh,
NIL and all that.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that could be interesting is there's a 34-person limit on the baseball teams.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to cut a lot of really good players.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna see a lot of the smaller schools getting better.
And, yeah.
Those 4 seeds that go into the regional, I think they have a better chance
Yeah.
to win games because you can't have all the good players on all the good teams now
Mhm.
because you got to
Yeah.
cut down on your scholarships.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be interesting to see next year how that is for the College World Series. Maybe we'll get some more newcomers like Murray State again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Oral Roberts, I saw you guys at the ball.
Yeah.
Oral Roberts, of course, they came up with a bat, not the ball, last year as kind of a out of nowhere. So
Yeah.
a 4 seed.
Yep. What are your thoughts on Matt Rule's third year hype? What he's always been at Baylor and all
And Temple?
Yep,
Yeah.
and Temple.
Simple. So I asked him about that. I interviewed him last week, right at the end of the College World Series, and we talked about that a little bit. And I said, he's putting a lot of pressure on himself
Yeah.
because yes, he's done it, but now he's bringing it up, and so
Yeah.
it's a lot to back up. I get it. The reason why he's got a formula.
Yeah.
You're going to play good defense. We're going to figure out how to run the ball. We're going to figure out how to turn you over and not turn the ball over.
Yeah.
And the fourth piece of that, which Nebraska hasn't been able to figure out for a long time, is special teams.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, we're going to play good special teams, and they haven't done that. So I think, hiring a new special teams coach and Mike Eckler, that's a big thing.
That is.
The second year of having a quarterback, just everything that Dylan Raiola learned throughout his freshman year, getting over some of those humps. The question is, are they deep enough with the running backs? I think their offensive line is going to be a lot better.
Yeah.
I know they lost Nash Hutmaker and they lost Ty Robinson.
Yeah, I did.
I think they're going to be faster and more athletic on the D-line.
Yeah.
Their defense will be good. And so
Always is.
I personally believe that the betting line is 7.5. I think they go over that. I would pick 8-4. I wouldn't be surprised if they went 9-3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of my predictions, I think that Michigan game, the 4th week.
Yeah.
So you got a freshman quarterback for them. That's going to be in his first really big start
Yeah.
on the road. It's a 2:30 game. It's not at night, but still, it's going to be energized.
It's gonna be.
They won't have their head coach because he'll be suspended.
Oh yeah.
I think that's the upset. Nebraska gets that upset over Michigan.
That would be good.
The next big game will be USC. If they can knock off USC at home and avoid any losses to teams that they are better than or that are favored to win, it wouldn't be crazy that they're sitting at 9-0 or 9-1 when they play Penn State.
And then
So I mean, 9-0 when they play Penn State or 8-1 when they play Penn State. That'd be
big.
that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
You go out there and
Yeah.
play a top 5 team, which Penn State will probably be.
It's gonna be. They're gonna be for sure.
No, I think the third year is I understand why people are excited about it. Cause I watched what we did at Temple,
Yeah.
and we watched and the Baylor job.
That
And
was.
again, you guys were really little at the time, but
Yeah.
the Baylor job, he took over a program that was under investigation.
Oh, yeah.
Almost every player left. He
Yeah.
had to remake the entire roster,
Yeah.
and in 3 years, they were playing for the Big 12 championship
Yeah.
game. So,
It was really good.
yep.
Many 4-star commits have bought into the third year. It's he's building around it, and he's
He
doing
is.
good.
Yeah, I know a lot of fans were worried because Nebraska was ranked last in the Big Ten in recruiting for 2026.
Yeah.
But the last few days, getting that wide receiver, the rule kid, getting the defensive back, and then just today when you're taping this, they got a wide receiver who flipped his commit from Arizona State.
Oh yeah, I did see
Yep.
that.
So he flipped from Arizona State to Nebraska. So that's a big get.
That's big.
Yeah. So they've been doing pretty well recruiting. It's hard.
It is.
It's a whole different world from when you guys were little to what it is now. We were so into building classes on these high school kids, and now yes, you're going to build that, but at the same time, you got to figure out how you do your portals and your transfers and all that
How
stuff,
you gotta keep them there.
and how you're going to get every year. You got to re-recruit them, right, to keep them to stay and not go someplace else to make more money.
Yeah.
So that's it's a tough thing for them to be able to do to be able to figure out.
Gatorade Player of the Year Connor Booth has committed to Nebraska. I did see. He's from Bishop Newman.
Yeah, he went.
Close
So
to-
that was
he's
so
close.
yeah. So he was in the 2025 class. He'll be playing this year. Connor Booth was. So I also do something called the Mr. Football Award.
Okay.
That's part of our Jet Award, and we give it to the best high school football player in the state.
Okay.
And Connor was a finalist for the award. I mean, why wouldn't he be? He was at one point he was second or third in the entire country in rushing. He was second or third in touchdowns across the whole country, which had an amazing time. He got injured in the bowl game.
Yeah.
Not his bowl game, in his championship game.
Yeah.
And so we ended up Joe Kalega, who played at Scott
Yeah.
and won Class B championship, wide receiver, defensive back. We ended up naming him as Mr. Football for last year. But Connor had an amazing season, and there's a good chance with the lack of depth they have at running back, if he's healthy, that he could play.
He can
Yeah,
play,
there is.
Mhm.
Yep. A lot of transfers are going into Nebraska, but a lot of key Nebraska players are leaving, including Alex Bullock. Many.
Yeah, well, Alex left, and it made sense. You have to figure out where you can play.
Yeah.
You got to figure out
Yeah.
if I can play, if I can start, if I can get some playing time and snaps. That's where I have to go. And I think Alex looked and said, I know they're going to be bringing in some more wide receivers.
Yeah.
Not just in the class in 2025, but also some transfer guys, and they did like Dane Key and others. And so he looked at it and said, I can go someplace else and play, which makes sense. Nebraska hasn't lost as many in the portal as a lot of other teams.
No. Yeah.
Anytime it's going the way it is and you lose less than 10, that's pretty good. I think they only
That is
lost
really
about
good.
5 or
Yeah.
6. So, I think the reason why is because playing at Nebraska, you're treated really well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether it is the money you're getting or the way you're taken care of in terms of training, the food you're going to get, the doctor's care, all of that is top notch at the University of Nebraska. So it's hard to leave that. You know, when you're
Yeah.
treated really well,
Yeah.
it's hard to go someplace else. You don't know what you're gonna get.
No.
It's weird thing, you know. University of Nebraska basketball team.
Yeah.
One of their guards 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Lawrence, decided he was going to leave and go someplace else.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
he went there, wasn't everything he thought it was going to be, and now he's back.
Yep.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And Matt Rule talks about that a lot. He says, you know, grass may seem greener somewhere else, but you
Yeah.
really need to make a good decision
Yeah.
because you can't always go back like Jamarcus Lawrence did. But I think Nebraska's done a pretty good job of keeping their guys in the house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Creighton has also been doing about the same thing. They've been getting some commits, but they also lost Fred King and Mason Miller, which are both going to Murray State, I've seen. So.
Which makes sense because,
Yeah,
you know,
because they-
Ryan Miller is a really good, he's good at recruiting foreign players. And
Yeah,
Fred
he
King
is.
is from Bahamas,
Yeah.
not considered the most foreign, but, and then Mason Miller, of course, is his nephew.
Yeah.
So they
yeah.
both make sense to go there. But Creighton, what they've added, if you look at what they've added over the last few months,
Yeah.
what they did in the transfer portal,
They've
what they
done
did
good.
coming out of high
Very
school, and then you got guys like a Jackson McAndrew who is right on the cusp to being a big star. And so, you know, chatting with their new assistant coach a couple of weeks ago, and he's pretty excited. I think they're all pretty excited to have a chance.
It's gonna be good.
That second weekend was something that Creighton forever couldn't get to,
Yeah.
and then they did,
And they
and then
did.
they got 5 seconds from being in the Final Four. And
Yeah.
I think they have that kind of talent. They got to replace Stephen Ashworth,
Yeah.
who was a valuable player, obviously.
Yeah.
You got to,
Runner.
and you got to, and of course Ryan Cockburn is a huge portion of it.
Uh-huh.
I think we'll see a little bit different offense
Yeah.
than we saw with Ryan Cockburn, a little bit different defense too.
Yeah, definitely.
But you're right, just replacing three of the big cogs.
Yeah.
And the draft happened last night, and Ryan ended up going in the second round.
Yeah.
Hornets.
Yep, went to the Hornets, which is a good pickup for them, and
Yeah.
a good place for him to go too. And so in Nebraska, Bryce Williams didn't get drafted, but he got signed to a free
Yeah, I
agent.
saw that.
Yeah, and so it was a good day for some of the local folks. Hunter Salas, who went to Millard North,
Yeah.
he didn't get drafted, but he also got signed
Stephen
to a
Ash.
free agent.
Stephen
Stephen Ashford signed for
Pacers.
with the Pacers. So
Yep.
those guys get a chance.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Get in the G League and
Yep.
earn your way.
Earn
It
your
can
way.
happen.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly.
It definitely.
Ryan Copelander's gonna be. I think he'll be good in the G League, and he'll.
But honestly, I don't
eventually
think
be
Ryan will
small.
have to. I think Ryan will.
Oh, he
I
will.
think he'll play right away. He's a
Oh,
plug and play guy. Yeah, I mean, he's 23. He had double senior years. He's married. Rachel, former
Yeah.
women's player at Creighton, he's married to, and I think he'll walk right in and play.
Most blocks in NCAA.
Yep.
Yep.
He's the second guy ever to have 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards in the Big East. The other guy's Patrick Ewing, who's
Yeah, which
one of the
makes
greatest
sense.
ever for the Big
Yeah,
East. So
Ever.
yeah,
Ever.
this is a guy who had, at one point, I think he still finished in the top 10 of field goal percentage of all time in
Yeah.
college basketball. You mentioned the blocks.
Yeah.
He couldn't get the scoring lead because nobody's going to pass up Dougie McBuckets, but
Yeah.
still, he got, I think he ended up second. So, yeah, heck of a career for Ryan Cockburn.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a great career.
It was a
Big
amazing
time.
career.
Yep.
I only know of one commit that has committed to Creighton so far. Jaden Kuhn is like hard commit. I don't know. Do you know any more that have committed?
So they have in their portal class, they have 6 guys in their portal class,
Okay. Yeah.
and then they have essentially 2 high school guys.
Okay.
And so they need guys, but they don't need to bring as many high school guys in
Yeah.
because they're at a point now where they're trying to win championships. And we mentioned what Jackson McAndrew will, but they got a kid out of Howard, which is in Washington D.C.,
Yeah.
who is a really good guard. And then they went out and got some guys who were scorers and veterans. And I look at Creighton and the way they're building. Coach McDermott's going to leave
Yeah. He is.
at some point. We don't know when.
They got their coach.
Yep, and they have their coach for
Yeah.
winning, right? And they were thinking about winning now.
Yeah.
So they spent a lot on the portal. I mean, we estimated probably somewhere in the $7 to $8 million range for portal, which is pretty good.
Yep.
And they want to win before Coach Mack leaves. So
Yeah.
they're doing a heck of a job bringing guys in. It's a really good portal class.
It is.
It is.
Yep.
I saw it the other day.
They've done really good.
No doubt.
I think that's it. Thanks for coming on and.
Well, let me ask you guys a couple questions before we go.
Okay,
Real quick.
okay.
Okay. All right. So you obviously play baseball for West Point.
Yep.
What position do you play?
Shortstop and pitcher.
Oh.
And I can also catch.
Yeah, and you're a righty. You said right.
Yeah.
What's your go-to pitch?
Probably a 2-seam.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 Let me see you. Where's the ball here? Let me see you hold your 2-seam. Let me see it. Show it to the camera. Look at that. What are you bringing? About 55, 60 miles an hour?
Yeah, just about 55.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You play any other sports?
Yeah, basketball and football.
Awesome. Okay. Point guard? Two guard?
Kind of, I can play point guard and I can play like a power forward, small forward.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Everything.
What about you? What do you do?
So baseball, first baseman, and sometimes center fielder,
Mm-hmm.
is lefty. So
Yeah.
and then basketball, mostly wing, and
Very good shooter.
shooter. Yeah, just mostly.
You're a 3-point expert?
Kind of. Went 3 for 3 today, so yeah.
Did you really?
He's getting there.
Yeah,
Nice.
getting there.
So am I.
That's awesome. Yeah. So tell me about the whole podcasting thing. Why'd you decide you want to do this?
So basically, one day at the lunch table, I just thought of doing
We were
a
just talking
podcast.
about
Yeah,
sports and then we
sports.
got on the
like-
topic of
Uh-oh.
It didn't break.
Good.
good, yeah.
That happens sometimes.
yeah.
Sometimes on live TV, crazy things happen.
Live TV.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically at the lunch table we were just talking about sports.
Yeah.
And
Without
then we got on the podcast.
podcast, and we talked
Decided to
about
do it, huh?
every like recess or lunch. We just
Everyone at our table was just
just talking about it, and it was
You
great.
you and Wes decided to step up and do it.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's really.
Well, congratulations. You guys have the ability to do something that when I was your age, obviously I couldn't do.
Yeah.
We didn't have this, so you guys are far ahead of us already. So
Yeah.
congratulations and good luck on the podcast.
Thanks.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah.
Wednesday,
My
yeah.
birthday was on Wednesday. Yeah.
Yep.
56 years old.
Hmm?
Old man.
No.
Yeah,
No.
very good. All that gray right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I have two boys too. So yeah,
Okay,
they cause all that gray.
yeah.
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 But thanks for having me come on. I
Thanks
appreciate
for
it. Thank you for coming in and
Yeah.
backing up.
Stepping up.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Good job. Yeah.
You got to sign off or anything?
Yeah.
What's your sign off?
So basically, it's thanks for riding the pine with us. Until next time, see ya. Just came up with that on the fly
Yeah.
today, so
Yeah.
that's our sign off. Yeah.
Well, thanks for riding the
Thanks for
pine with us.
Until next time, see ya.